The ultimate battle, Goku versus Superboy-Prime. In the endless darkness of the universe, where parallel realities intertwine like thin threads in a giant tapestry, an unusual rift appears. It is not only a crack in space, but also a wound between two timelines, dragging along chaotic energy that makes even the most powerful entities shiver. On the other side, Goku is training alone on the planet Beerus. He has just perfected Ultra Instinct to the highest level, his body merging with the energy flow of the universe. His breathing is calm, but the power inside him burns fiercely, like a fire waiting to engulf the entire galaxy. Something is strange. Goku slightly raised his head, his eyes solemn. A cosmic wind that does not belong to this space blew by, carrying a pressure that even the god of destruction Beerus had to glance at. In another reality, Superboy-Prime stands amid the ruins of countless worlds he has crushed. His custom armor shines, and his red eyes tear through the darkness. He has just destroyed a reality created by TDK, a reality with a spectrum of emotions and divine influence. His punches are enough to collapse a multiverse. The space rift expanded, forming a vortex gate that sucked in light. A terrifying pressure surged out, causing the entire Beerus planet to shake. Poor thing. Goku, something is coming. An entity that doesn't belong here. From within the vortex of light, a figure emerged. The red light from his eyes burned the surrounding space. Superboy-Prime stepped out, his feet touching the ground, causing a ripple to spread. "Who are you?" Goku asked, his eyes filled with vigilance. "I am Superboy-Prime, the strongest in all realities. And you," he smirked, "will be nothing more than a memory that will be erased." Without further words, the aura around Prime exploded, causing space to crack like glass. Goku stomped his feet, his body glowing with the silver radiance of Ultra Instinct. His eyes were cold, his lips pursed slightly. "Let's try." They disappeared in a flash. The explosion echoed through the sky as the two punches collided. The shock wave shattered the neighboring planet, sending a wave of energy that traveled millions of miles. But from the very first moment, Goku realized Prime's speed was far beyond anything he had ever encountered. Even though his Ultra Instinct reflexes allowed him to react on instinct, Prime's next punch sent him back thousands of kilometers, crushing the entire meteorite trail behind him. Prime was not only strong, he also existed as a living paradox, beyond all concepts of power limits. Goku unleashed a series of Kamehameha attacks amplified to the extreme. The spiraling blue energy seemed to want to swallow the entire universe. But Prime only slightly raised his hand. The terrifying energy wave was torn in half like a thin silk cloth. He laughed, his eyes flashing, shooting out a red heat ray. In just a blink of an eye, the heat line tore through space, burning everything in its path, creating a tear into the fifth dimension. Goku narrowly avoided it, sweat rolling down. He knew he was facing an entity that was not a god, but one that was beyond gods. The battle dragged on, tearing apart multiple realities. Planets and galaxies turned to ashes, one by one, under the impact of the punches. But in the end, when Prime clenched his jaw, putting all his strength into a single punch, space seemed to freeze. The punch carried more than just physical energy. It was a force that shook the very fabric of the multiverse. It slammed into Goku, shattering the defenses of Ultra Instinct, crushing the Saiyan's body in a blinding flash of light. Silence fell. Prime stood in the void, his crimson eyes watching the fragments of a legendary warrior drift into the void. The light from the punch had barely faded when the space around them began to twist. The energy from the two entities colliding not only destroyed matter, but also distorted the very fabric of reality. Pieces of the galaxy were stretched and contracted like rubber bands in a bizarre game of physics. Superboy-Prime stood still, his eyes glowing red like two molten blades. Each breath he took was like the roar of a nuclear storm. "You're strong, Saiyan, but it's not enough." Goku lifted himself from the pile of meteorite debris, blood flowing from the corner of his mouth. Even though his body was torn, his eyes still burned with an unquenchable fire. "I still have one more strike." He closed his eyes slightly. The space around Goku transformed. A silvery white aura surged, forming streaks of light like the Milky Way winding around his body. Ultra Instinct had now reached a more perfect rhythm than ever before. Whis, watching from afar, tilted his head slightly, his eyes shining with surprise. He has entered a state of absolute balance. But he glanced at Prime. Is that enough? Prime did not wait for Goku to finish. He charged forward, his speed surpassing the concept of light. But this time, Goku did not dodge, did not react out of habit. He raised his hand, blocking that terrible punch in an instant. The shockwave created by the collision caused billions of stars to extinguish like candles before a storm. Goku disappeared from sight, appearing right behind Prime at a speed that shattered space into thousands of pieces. A spinning kick carrying divine energy struck Prime's chest armor, creating an explosion like an earthquake that spread throughout the infinite. The armor cracked, glowing fiercely. "You broke my armor?" Prime gritted his teeth, his eyes flashing with anger. In an instant, he unleashed all his power, red energy bursting out like a sea of fire, pushing Goku back tens of thousands of miles. Space shook, light was bent, time holes began to appear, where fragments of the past and future mixed with reality. The chaotic scene was like a crazy painting by a demented divine artist. Prime raised both hands, gathering all his power into a punch. That fist glowed so bright that all definitions of color were erased. As he charged, every planet, every star in his path was shattered into nothingness. Goku did not retreat. He pushed his infinite instinct to the limit, channeling all his energy into a supreme Kamehameha, where blue light merged with silver, creating a pillar of energy that penetrated all boundaries. The two powers collided. There was no sound, no light, only absolute void, reality shattered like thin glass, a collision that shook the very foundations of the multiverse. When the light returned, Goku was kneeling in the void, his breathing ragged. His armor had vanished, his body covered in blood and wounds. He looked up, seeing Prime standing not far away, his body still glowing, but his armor shattered, revealing fiery skin underneath. "You truly amuse me, Saiyan." His voice rang out like a thunderclap in the sky. "But this game must end." Prime raised his hand. With a simple wave of his hand, a giant vortex opened up, swallowing all light, dragging fragments of the universe into nothingness. It was the fifth dimension, where even the highest laws no longer held any value. Goku braced himself, putting his remaining strength into one last charge. He transformed into a silver beam of light, piercing through the void, aiming straight at Prime. But before he could make contact, a punch from Prime came down. That punch not only hit Goku's body, but also crushed his very notion of existence. No screams, no blood, just a faint silver streak that melted into the endless black vortex. The silence that filled the space after Goku's disappearance did not last long. The giant holes created by the battle began to swallow up the fragments of reality. Billions of stars were fading like ashes in the endless wind. In the distance, Whis and Beerus were still there, their eyes heavy. Beerus frowned, his cat ears twitching slightly. He was stronger than I imagined. Goku could not win. Whis let out a soft sigh, his voice as light as the wind. It was an inevitable outcome. That entity was not a god, but it surpassed all the limits we knew. Superboy-Prime not only destroyed matter, he distorted the concept of reality. "So, what do we do?" Beerus asked. But there was a hint of unease in his voice. Whis did not answer. Instead, he looked towards the vortex of light where Prime had just disappeared. A strange light flashed in his angelic eyes. He understood clearly. If Prime continued his journey, countless universes would be erased. A new nightmare was being woven. While Beerus and Whis remained silent, Prime had already passed through the vortex gate and entered a completely new realm of reality. There were no more quiet galaxies, no more small planets. This place was an ocean of primordial energy, where the laws of physics were reduced to ashes. "How beautiful," Prime smirked. He raised his hand, concentrating all his energy. A flash of light, the heat from his eyes pierced the wall, creating a giant hole, a feat that even the Source had never accomplished. He stepped through, leaving behind a spreading rift. And with each step he took, the multiverse trembled. A blue light illuminated the void, followed by a deep voice. "Goku has failed." The one who spoke was the High Priest, one of the most powerful entities in the Dragon Ball universe. Beside him were the angels, the gods of destruction from the 12 universes. Each gaze was serious, for they understood that the spreading danger was no longer a game for fighters. Beerus appeared through the dimensional portal, entering with a dark expression. "What should we do, Grand Priest? He is unlike any enemy before." The Grand Priest slowly stepped forward, his deep eyes seemingly containing all the secrets of existence. Superboy-Prime is an anomaly. He does not belong to the cycle of any universe. His power is not based on divine energy, but on the rebellion of reality itself. If he completely breaks the source wall, the thing sealed behind it will rise, and then everything will end. Whis frowned slightly. "You mean the thing sealed behind the source wall?" The Grand Priest nodded. "Ancient entities, more powerful than the Omni-Kings, will be released. And not just one universe, but all existence will be swallowed up." The atmosphere became heavy. The gods of destruction looked at each other, but no one said a word. Because they all understood. Even if they joined forces, they might not be able to stop that person. "But," the Grand Priest continued, his voice echoing throughout the space, "there is hope. A warrior who belongs to no rules. One who can break the limits that even the nature of the universe cannot bind. Space shook violently as Prime stepped deeper into the chaos. Behind him, the source wall cracked, and primordial energy poured forth, creating waves of destruction that swept across the multiverse. Everything went crazy. Time fractured, realities overlapped, and ancient beings imprisoned for billions of years began to awaken. But just before Prime stepped through the final door, a silver light flashed from the void. Goku reappeared, his body glowing brighter than ever. It was no longer pure Ultra Instinct, but a perfect blend of Ultra Instinct and destructive power, combined with a divine energy that even Beerus had never touched. Goku clenched his fists, his eyes burning with a final conviction. Prime, this battle is not over yet. Superboy. Prime turned around, his eyes flashing with amusement. You still haven't given up? That's commendable, Saiyan, but that just makes your death more interesting. Without further ado, the two entities charged at each other. This time, there was no space, no time, only waves of energy swirling like endless storms. Each of their punches shattered billions of realities, crushing countless dimensions. Goku poured all his strength into the ultimate Kamehameha, a final blow that could tear apart the very foundations of nothingness. The silver-white blue light exploded, piercing through the thick layers of time. But Prime remained standing, like a mountain that would never fall. With one stroke, he raised his hand, cutting through the energy like a thin cloth, and then delivered a punch to Goku's chest. Not just his body, but the entire being of the legendary Saiyan was crushed. An explosion echoed throughout the multiverse, causing even the ancient entities to tremble in fear. As the light faded, only Prime remained standing in the void, his armor ablaze, his red eyes illuminating the void. There was no Goku, no one who could stop him. He raised his head, looking through the countless doors of reality that were opening wide. His voice echoed, deep and solemn like a death knell for all existence. There are no more limits. I am power. I am the end. And no one can stop me. He walked away, leaving behind a trail of red light swallowing everything. And the world, where there was once a legend named Goku, was now just a faint memory in the endless sea of chaos.